This podcast deals with issues about LGBT families and trans-specific topics. We would love to hear from you and welcome your questions and comments. However, we will not tolerate any discriminatory language or hate speech. So please, just don't do it. Enjoy the show.
Young people in the LGBT community, LGBTQIA+, the whole community, are the most vulnerable people in the community. So, if you want to make a difference, reaching out to them and offering what assistance, what expertise, whatever you have that you can offer them, any kind of support that you can offer them, to let them know that they have an ally that's not related to them.
So sometimes just having one person that they know cares about them can actually save somebody's life. That's not hyperbole, that's a statistical fact.
When we were kids, we met at camp.
After college, we got married.
10 years later, we finally had a baby.
That same year, I came out as trans.
This is the story of our journey.
Through marriage,
Parenting,
gender,
and all the changes that life brings.
this is Our Life in Transition. Are you going to actually record, not be a stupid thing? Okay, Audacity's working. Okay,
Yay.
Huzzah. Hey everybody,
Hello.
and thank you for tuning in once again. I am Shannon,
And I am Rachel,
and this is Our Life in Transition.
in case you got here by mistake.
Again, which seems to be happening to some people, but you know, hopefully you got here intentionally. So we just had an eventful weekend. We went to the annual Philadelphia Trans Wellness Conference again. This is the second year that we went, and I think that we had a pretty good conference this year. What were your thoughts?
It was delightful. It was a little bit different than last year, but in a good way. Lots of different offerings. I won't go into great detail here, but you could always check out your
That's true. Yeah,
video.
We did do my video for the week is kind of a quasi vlog with us talking about it and kind of reviewing what our thoughts for this conference were. One of the things though this year that was a little bit different than last year. Last year I think we were focused a lot on the panels and trying to get as much information as possible because my transition was still relatively a new thing for us, but I think this year we actually wound up spending a lot of time talking with other people that were there at the conference and
networking.
Ooh. And I think that was it was nice to kind of build a little bit of a broader base of people in the community.
Yes.
You're very succinct. Yes.
Well, and okay. So that's what this episode is about. It's about community.
Not the sitcom.
Although,
I've never actually seen that show.
shame.
I know.
Shame.
I know. I'm a bad millennial.
All the crap you binge watch, and that's one you've never seen. Anywho, so yeah, it was nice to meet some people, both just regular old people attending the conference just like us, and some other podcasters, and some YouTubers, and some presenters. And it's really important for us, I think, because it can be isolating, especially being where we are in a rural, red, older demographic community.
We live in an LGBT resource desert.
Yes, as I think we've mentioned several times.
Yeah, it's
We're all alone.
although some random person there's some new people in the neighborhood, and there's a pride flag up, and I want to go make friends. I don't know who they are, but
Yes.
I left them a little bit of a note, but I haven't heard anything back. So
It's kind of weird.
I know,
just, but maybe they're listening because we left them a card. So if you're listening to the podcast, hi. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for us in that we don't really have a lot of people in the immediate vicinity to kind of build those relationships with and kind of have that queer support system. And it's an important thing to have, because I mean, there's lots of different types of circles that you are in. Everybody has their own personal circle, and I mean, you've got your relatives, and for the most part, most of my relatives have been fairly supportive, but it's not necessarily the same thing, in that
they're not in the community.
Yeah, they're not in the community, so they are supportive, but they don't necessarily understand the experience.
Right.
And people a lot of people wind up, in large part for that reason, finding, groups of friends and, building a chosen family around them. Sometimes because they have super unsupportive families. And just, it's nice to have that group of people who understands what you're going through and can relate without necessarily having to have anything explained to them.
Yes.
And I know also, I mean, in my instance, I mean, a lot of that is online because, people aren't necessarily close. So, I mean, I've got my online support groups. I've got, other people that I've befriended online, some of which I actually met for the first time in person at the conference this weekend. And, that's a nice kind of circle in that they're always there. There's always, in an online support group, you can drop a line and usually somebody's around to talk to. But it still is very isolating in that it's not like a tangible person that you know. There's still that kind of separation, that distance.
Yes. So one of the important topics, one of the workshops that I went to, was about being an ally, and that can sometimes be a loaded term. Not everybody likes that, but it's basically, it's very hard as a cis person to navigate your place in the community at large, because you're in the community by virtue of the fact that your partner is trans, so you're a part of the community, but you're not necessarily experiencing all of the same things,
right,
that the rest of the community is. And so that can be a very difficult thing to navigate. And we talked about, in the panel, what? And then our dog added 2 cents. Okay. She doesn't like the term ally either. But so we talked about what the best term to use is, whether it's ally or advocate or activist.
I like accomplice.
Well, yes. The ones that seem to get the most reaction from people in the actual community was accomplice or co-conspirator. Because it is more of a cooperative term, right, not a I am working for you because you can't do this yourself.
Right.
It's more of a I am working with you, and if we're going to get in trouble, we're going to get in trouble together, and we're going to subvert the system together.
It's not passive. It's not just I support you and I'm an ally over here.
Right.
Just, giving moral support.
Right. And so what it means for me to participate in the community is by virtue of the fact that I am not a trans person. I am a cis white person. I have a certain amount of privilege, which sometimes makes it easier for me to be heard than a member of a marginalized community, whether it is a person of color or a person in the LGBT community or whatever. So using that privilege to speak out, to be active, to bring awareness to LGBT issues, and also to choose to be visible as at least a tangential part of the community. Because I don't have to be. I can go to functions, and if people don't know Shannon, they don't know anything about me. They can assume that I am a straight cis woman, married, unmarried, doesn't matter, but they don't know. So I have the ability to choose whether or not to be visible, which is not something that a member of the community always has.
True. And, it's, for somebody who is trans, you're visible by default.
Right. Right.
Well, it depends. If you're, really passing, some people, maybe nobody will ever know. But your existence makes you part of the community, whereas somebody who is an ally, you have to actively choose to do that.
Accomplice,
yes. You have to choose to be an ally, an advocate, an accomplice. You make a decision to be part of the community, whether that's something you're willing to do or not. But as somebody who is trans, that's just, as soon as I go, yeah, I'm trans, well, there I am. I'm part of the community. I'm in it. But
even somebody who's passing can't hide all the time, because you have name changes and things like that.
Yeah.
You go for a new job, you fill out a background check form, and suddenly out you are.
It's you kind of have to actively not be visible.
Right.
And there's different levels of that visibility. Just being somebody who I've had people say to me that, they have learned so much just by the fact that they know me and I'm transitioning, that just me existing and them observing my transition is teaching a lot of people that I know. And there are people that, try to be an example, that, and you see a lot of this with, people who are online personas, I guess you would say, where
YouTubers,
Instagrammers, people doing podcasts,
creators. Yes, creators.
But and not just that either. But just there's celebrities and people on TV and things like that. But there are people that choose to be more visible, and by their visibility, not only set an example for other people who are in those resource deserts like we are, to see, oh, okay, there is somebody else like me. I'm not alone, and see that there is a community of people out there like them. But for the people that aren't trans, aren't LGBT, it helps shift the culture. And despite the fact that there are a lot of people who would rather pretend that we don't exist, I think overall the prevalence of people willing to be visible is helping to make things better and help shift the culture and to be more accepting. And beyond just being visible, people, there is a direct action people take. Being part of the community can, you can be more of an advocate that's actually going out there and trying to make some tangible changes, and beyond just your mere presence.
I think creators, just by virtue of the fact that they have decided to create something and put it out there, are advocating, whether they're actually pushing a view or calling for some kind of specific action on their listeners, watchers, whatever's part, whether they're saying call your congressman or not, just by virtue of the fact that they are doing something and putting it out there for the larger world, they are advocating for the community. And they are also advocating within the community, I think, by example, empowering other would-be bloggers, vloggers, Instagrammers, podcasters, saying you can do this and what you say matters.
And this isn't even like a hypothetical. Like the reason that I have a YouTube channel, the reason that I'm, we talked about doing a podcast and I was all for it, was because if not for seeing those other people that were out there, I might still be in the closet and just depressed and overwhelmed and sad. And
there's not enough room in your closet.
It was very small. But because their example inspired me to be more authentic and accepting of myself, I can't not try to do the same for other people who are out there. And whether that I'm actually having any effect, whether that's actually doing anything or not, I don't know. But I'd like to think that, maybe somebody will stumble across some of my stuff and it'll help somebody.
Don't kid yourself. People are seeing it because people were actually looking for you at the conference, which is weird.
I mean, that was a little weird.
Weird.
I mean, it was a handful of people, but it's still.
Minor celebrity here. Minor celebrity. Very minor. Like, so minor. But,
and that's the thing. Like, you can build a community in person and you have those people that you know personally. And that's nice. And that was nice to meet some people at the conference. So, if I'm talking to them online, I feel as if I actually, have a personality and a persona to go with, just the face and the comments that I'm interacting with online. But having that community of people who are online is an invaluable resource, I think.
Yes. And I will say, I don't want Shannon's head to get too big. I will say that there were just as many people seeking out our daughter as there were seeking out her. So, our daughter is also a minor celebrity.
That's true. We actually, literally, beforehand and when I first got to the conference, I went up and I talked to the gender rebels. And, I mean, I freely admitted that I kind of cribbed their idea for a podcast. But they were like, so, where's the baby at? Like, you're here. That's great. Where's the baby? We want to see the baby. And
when I met them on Friday, they were like, yeah, great.
Where's the baby?
Where's the baby?
But she got a sticker on Saturday, and she was very happy with that. So
she got a sticker and gave high fives.
That's true.
So
I think that was the highlight. Like, they were like, oh my god, she gave high fives. But
anyway, we digress. Thanks again for listening to the show.
If you like what you hear so far, subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be sure to share with your friends and family so they can enjoy as well.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support.
Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Shannon.
You like reading, right? You like books? You're like a book type person?
I have a library degree. I like books.
I mean, it'd be really awkward if you didn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it would.
So, well, you're in luck.
I am?
Yes, indeed you are. You know why?
Why, Shannon? Why?
Because our friend has a new book out.
I already knew that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But Distant Lands of Sand and the Men Who Died There is an all-new novel by A.E. Fletcher.
Yay! What is it about?
Well, Ridley lives a life others only dream of. Lazy cafe days, and nights of hash and passionate lovemaking. Ooh. As a vagabond expatriate in the Medina of Tangiers, Morocco. That sounds exciting.
And exotic.
Indeed. But when he becomes wrapped up in an adventure and vendetta that's been brewing since World War II, he won't survive without the help of a beautiful and deadly photojournalist and a crack pilot.
Like a pilot that's on crack? Or like a really good pilot?
I think the latter.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten to that part of the book yet. Together, they must outrun an army of mercenaries to find the mythical lost city of Zerzura. That does sound exotic. Distant Lands of Sand and the Men Who Died There is Indiana Jones meets Anthony Bourdain, a pulp novel tale of adventure, intrigue, mystery, romance, and delicious food.
Ooh, delicious food. I would read it just for the food.
Exactly. Distant Lands of Sand and the Men Who Died There is now available to order on Amazon.com.
So get your copy now.
Absolutely.
So, okay, I'm an ally as part of the community. I'm part of the community by virtue of my connection with Shannon. And therefore, I'm an ally within the community. And I can do work within the community. And I can help other LGBT people. And I can do stuff. I can volunteer at the conference. And I can do other stuff within the LGBT community. But I don't have an LGBT community except online where I live. So then what? You leave the conference and, like, you don't stop being part of the community. No. So there's a certain amount of, you have to make a decision. And, okay, I have to make a decision. Because, as we said before, I have the privilege of deciding how much I'm going to do in the community because I am less visible as a member of the community. I get to actively make a decision to work for the community or to not.
Right.
So we have decided to go to the moon. Not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And do the other things. Okay. I digress. Okay. No, I got a little JFK there. Okay. But
Hi, doggy.
So I have to make a decision about what my membership in the community means.
What that looks like.
What does that look like? And what does it look like when I'm not at a Pride event, when I'm not at a conference, when I'm not surrounded by an LGBT community where I feel very comfortable? So, we live in a desert. So we live in a LGBT desert. We don't live in a desert, we actually live by the beach. Okay. There's lots of water everywhere. Water everywhere. Okay. But so I have to decide, what being a member of the community means when you're not in the community. And this is my goal for this year. I'm amped up coming off the conference. I've got a little bit of a conference high. I'm ready to do stuff. Now we'll see how much actually happens because I also have a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And a chronic illness but
a couple things impeding, just a few.
But in my head, I'm ready. So, if you're ready, what are the things that an ally can do outside of your LGBT community in the world at large? So you can choose to do small things that don't really have a lot of risk involved. It's not going to be a great personal hardship to you to sign and circulate a petition, an online petition or something else for some kind of legislation that will help the community. Gender marker legislation, birth certificate legislation, things that make name changes easier, things like that. Anti-conversion therapy stuff, like all of those kind of petitions and stuff, that can be done at very little personal discomfort. And believe it or not, it actually does matter.
It does.
Like, doing those little things, you probably think that, like, okay, putting my name on this with a bazillion other people, nobody cares. But it counts. It matters. So you can do stuff like that. Similar, writing your legislature, whether it's your city council or your state house or your congressperson, things like that. You get on the record.
And I can tell you firsthand because, I mean, I helped work on a campaign, and I've incidentally known or had some tangential relationship with some legislators, some congress people. That shit matters. If you call, if you write, they may not hear your specific voicemail, they may not read your specific letter, but their staff does. And they give them reports and say, this many people called about this thing. Your constituents care about this. It's important. This is where you need to be on this issue. Because they want to get reelected. That's kind of their main goal.
And if you have the resources, donations to your LGBT-friendly political campaigns and PACs and things like that, those things matter too. And all of that involves very little risk. You can be a part-time ally. You know, you maybe are not ready to be on the front lines, you know, with your pride shirt, you know,
and your picket signs.
And picket signs, you know, screaming, you know, fuck the establishment. But you can do those very small things, and they don't take much time, you know, so if you're an ally, you really have very little excuse not to. That being said, if you want to stick your neck out a little bit more, and you don't really know what to do, my suggestion, now it depends on your strengths. I come at it from an education perspective because I'm a librarian at heart, and, you know, I have that kind of mindset. So some things that I think I can do, maybe I can have a workshop at a library. One of my friends is a librarian. She got my job. And she has a LGBT youth group.
Right.
Peer group that meets at her library periodically. And she had Shannon and I come and speak. And maybe doing more of those where not just for youth or for people already in the community, but maybe as an education event for the community at large, you know, talking about your experience as an ally, you and your partner's experience, something like that is advocacy, because it is educating people who maybe have absolutely no idea what it even means to be transgender.
No. And you would be surprised how many people really just do not have any concept whatsoever about what this means.
Right. Or maybe if youth is your thing, maybe you want to get involved, see if your high school has a GSA, and see if you can get involved with them. Maybe you want to be a mentor. Maybe you want to have a one-time event where you go and speak to them. Maybe you want to have an event in conjunction with them where they sponsor an event as part of their community activities where you are helping or whatever. But I know that students are young people in the LGBT community, LGBTQIA+, the whole community, are the most vulnerable people in the community. So, if you want to make a difference, reaching out to them and offering what assistance, what expertise, whatever you have that you can offer them, any kind of support that you can offer them, to let them know that they have an ally that's not related to them.
So sometimes just having one person that they know cares about them can actually save somebody's life. That's not hyperbole, that's a statistical fact.
So, I mean, that's something that you can do. Get involved with, you know, a youth group in your area that is, you know, that needs a mentor or a helping hand, and do something like that. And you can do that even if you're not a member of the community. Anybody can do that who cares.
Right.
You know, that's the point. You can also do something, this is going to be controversial. You could do a church event. There are churches that are LGBT friendly. They are not perhaps as prevalent as we would like. They are not necessarily outwardly LGBT friendly. There are a lot of churches that do not have a pride flag. They're not gonna, but that doesn't mean they're unwelcoming. It might just be that they don't know that they should.
That's true.
And in our community, we have a very welcoming church. We have found a very welcoming Episcopal church. Yay, Episcopalians. But when Shannon came out and we talked to our priest, there were questions.
Yeah.
The congregation had questions.
Right.
And he wanted to know how he should address the questions.
What he should say, how he should address it, what he should or should not actually discuss. Because there are some things which are perhaps not for him to talk about, and maybe, there are certain issues that, you know what, if you have a question about that, you need to go talk to Shannon and Rachel.
But perhaps having an event where you have a Q&A, and have it in a church or, at the church's community center, but invite the community just to answer those questions that you can answer, to educate people. And you might find that, and I'm saying church here because I come from a Christian background, but your temple, your mosque, your whatever religious congregation community that you are a part of or would like to be a part of or have been a part of, or that you're not a part of but will have you. I'll go talk to the Jewish Community Center down the street if they'll have me.
Right.
I don't have to necessarily be a member of the community to educate the community. And so I think those education-oriented things, even, one-offs, are helpful and are a way to advocate and a way to show, there are still people who think this is very scary because they don't get it. There were and are people who think having a person of color live next door to you is or was scary. And they need education because some of it just comes from a place of having never experienced that.
The easiest way for people to get over their lack of understanding, their fear, is to have somebody that they know.
Right, a personal connection.
A personal connection, somebody that they know. Educate them. Now, it would be better if it's somebody that they already have an established relationship with, but if you can be a touchstone for somebody to relate and have some sort of a personal connection, it's a much easier way for people to learn than trying to figure it out as a hypothetical.
Right. And if you want to be Superman, woman, person, there are huge things that you can do. Maybe not as a single person, but if you can build up a community, maybe you start with these little things and you build up a little bit of a community support, and then maybe you want to take on organizing a pride event. Our community does not have a pride event. In fact, our county has one.
Mm-hmm.
One pride event in our entire county, and it's new.
Is Asbury Park in?
No.
Oh, yeah, no, Asbury Park is not.
It's in Monmouth County.
Asbury Park is in Monmouth. There was one in Toms River this
year.
year.
There was one in Toms River. That's our county seat.
Yeah. And, there is discussion. There is a young person locally who is trying to get one started, a town over from us. And I've heard a lot of support for him. And it's a brave thing for, just a young person to go, there's nothing here. There's nothing here for us. He recognized the same thing that we've been acknowledging, that there is a lack of resources around here. So he's taking it upon himself to try to start Pride near us.
Right. So, but that's something that you can do. You can organize a Pride event. You can organize fundraisers for local LGBT groups or fundraisers for events, that are already, trying to get off the ground. You can, if you don't have a group, like we don't have a group, you can find the LGBT people and make a group. Or, if you build it, they will come.
True.
Go to a local community center and say, I want an hour every other week, something like that, to host an LGBT group. And then advertise the crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They will come. Because if you are feeling the lack of community,
Other people are too.
Other people are too. So, and they might come from a couple towns over. Because, as I said, in our area, our whole county is just nothing. So, maybe they'll come from half an hour away. Maybe they'll drive if they see that there's a group for them, And then your group, once you get it established, can be doing the big undertakings, like creating a pride event and things like that. And there are even bigger things that you can do if you really want to ruin your life in support of the LGBT community. And what I'm talking about is running for office. If you feel really strongly about supporting the LGBT community and you feel like you want somebody digging up everything about you for the last 30, 40 years.
Forever.
I think you should do it. I will not be doing that. That is not something that I will be doing. But the other thing you can do is find somebody who is willing to do that and help them. You can work on a campaign. Volunteer. Even if you don't have a ton of time, work a phone bank for an hour once a week.
When I worked that campaign last year, I worked basically full time. That was my job last summer. But there were people that would come in for a couple hours a week, make phone calls, go knock on doors. It's not that complicated of a thing, but it makes a big, big difference.
Right. So you have to do what you can do. And I'm not saying that everybody who cares about the LGBT community should run for office.
I am.
Yeah, well, you're a bitch. All right. No, I'm not saying that because it is not for everybody.
No, it's not.
And I'm not saying that if you don't choose to run for office, that you are less of an ally than somebody who does.
Monsters.
Okay, Shannon's no longer going to talk on the podcast.
I kid. Do what you can.
But, and you know what? If you can't do all of these grand things that I have schemes about doing and that I have grand plans about doing, look, honestly, most of the stuff that I listed as stuff that you can do as an advocate, I am not going to do this year because life is going to get in the way. I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to take care of my child. I'm going to have to take care of my health. I'm going to have to take care of Shannon because Lord knows she can't take care of herself.
Hey.
So.
I'm independent.
I'm independent.
Don't look at me like that.
Right. But, even if you can't do all of these things that you have grand plans of doing or that you would love to do, be visible.
Mm-hmm.
Because being visible as a supporter of the community, or as a member of the community, or as both, is in itself advocacy. If people know you and see you being an advocate for the community, even if it's something as simple as sharing LGBT events on your Facebook page so that people who might not see them do see them, being a visible person is enough. And anything that you do besides that is extra. But at the very least, own your membership in the community or tangentially as an accomplice of the community.
You know, I have to say, I have to give credit where credit is due. My brother recently, I went to New York Pride with him, and he couldn't get his hands on a free Dad Hugs shirt before we went, but we had a talk on the way there and while we were in New York, and he said to me that he's done not speaking up, and he recognized that he has a position of power in being able to speak out, and since then he's, you know, whenever somebody has said anything homophobic, transphobic, he's shot them down. He's gone out of his way to share LGBT stuff. He shares stuff from my page constantly now, because he said, I'm your brother, how can I not be an ally? How can I not let everybody know that I'm here to support you and everybody else? So that's what I'm going to do.
And let's just acknowledge that that is not everybody's experience.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, you have been very lucky with some of your family.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody has that experience. So it's up to those of us who are comfortable advocating and being an accomplice and who want to work with the community to fill that gap for the people who aren't willing to stand up and stick their neck out. And I know that this podcast, look, I promise that the rest of the podcast will not be this preachy. But coming off of the conference and being, you know, in that
calm down, Rachel.
And being in
Don't
that
beat the microphone.
And being in that community setting and seeing all of the ways people are working in the community, for the community, around the community, I just really feel strong. And look, to be honest, I'm pretty sure that our listenership is not a bunch of homophobic, transphobic people. If you're here and you're homophobic and you're transphobic and you don't want anything to do with the LGBT community, please, very kindly, fuck off. So, I'm assuming that everybody who is listening, who hasn't just fucked off, wants to be a better advocate, ally, member of the community.
Human.
And that is why I am being so preachy.
And I will put in this one caveat, though. Do what you can, but be safe. Your safety comes first. If it is not safe for you to go out and be as visible as you might want to be, do what you can, but be safe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, not everybody has the privilege that I feel like I have, that I can be out and open about my family and all of that, you know. But it's okay to be a minor supporter. And by that I mean not that your actions are minor, because every action that you do and you're doing something is important. But it's okay if you can't be on the front line holding the picket sign for whatever reason. Whether it's for health reasons, whether it's for anxiety reasons. I didn't go to New York Pride. I would have died. That doesn't mean I'm not a supporter. That doesn't make me less of a supporter. I just could not physically do that or mentally do that. And that's okay. If you don't have a safe space at work, don't be vocal at work. If you're worried about losing your job, don't put yourself in that situation. If you're, afraid in certain circles, then by all means, don't put yourself in a situation of being unsafe or potentially getting hurt. Nobody is saying that.
Do what you can, but be smart.
Right. You can totally sign a petition and make a phone call and be safe. doing that. And if that's all that you can do, that's okay.
You know what the easiest, safest, most secretive, supportive thing people can do is? Vote.
Vote. Vote. Yes. Yes. If you're not registered to vote, go and register to vote. Do it now. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. If I find out that you're not registered to vote and you're listening to this podcast, I will find you. Okay, maybe I won't. But seriously. And I mean, you can totally go down the road of, our elections are hacked and all of this nonsense and it doesn't matter and, the orange bastard was not a popularly elected president. All of that. I get it.
You have no excuse.
Vote anyway. Because it might matter. Because you might actually affect some change. And even if you're not affecting the change that you want in the upper echelons, vote on your local questions.
Mm-hmm.
Vote on your city council. Vote on your state representatives. Hell, vote on your board of education. Vote on your judges. Just vote.
Because when there's thousands of people who say my vote doesn't matter, then your vote doesn't matter because thousands of people gave up. And even if you can't get out to vote on election day, you can put it in an absentee ballot. It takes 2 seconds to have one sent to you and fill it out and pop it back in the mailbox. You can do it.
You can do it. I believe in you. Right. Okay. I'm sorry for being so preachy and telling you what to do. I promise the next one will not be so bad. It might be bad, but it won't be so preachy. It won't tell you what to do. It might tell you what to do.
I'm glad you didn't have a pulpit in front of you because you would have banged your fist so hard.
I didn't get all sing-songy. I don't have that ability.
I'd get sing-songy, but my voice is up in a weird place now.
Right. Okay, so I think that we have harangued you enough. Community. Community is really important. Be part of your community. Build your own community if you don't have one. Gather some people, create a family, create a community, and get out in your community.
And if you need a couple of moms to talk to, you can find us online. Shoot us an email. We'll talk to you.
Seriously. Anytime, anybody, unless you have a dick pic.
Oh, but then I'll just mock them.
Okay, send us your dick pics. We'll get a laugh. Anyway. I think we've gone off the rails. But in the show notes, I'm going to make Shannon, because I don't do these things, I'm going to make Shannon post links to our video about the conference. And also the information about the amazing person, her name is Kryss, who gave the talk at the conference on allyship and what it means to be an ally. And she gave me her card, and I know that she has no problem being reached out to. So I'm going to ask for Shannon to put that information in
okay.
Also. And yeah. And if you are too lazy to go on Google and figure out how to register to vote, get a petition to run for office in your area, find any of that information, people, I have a library degree. Text or message me, email me. I will find that information. I will send you a link, and I will give you instructions. Like, I do not have a problem.
When your librarian and mommy powers combine.
Yes. Yes. I'm a mommy librarian. Yes. Okay. But seriously, reach out. Questions, comments, anything. Reach out. If you're in the community, what is your preferred terminology? Do you like ally? Do you like advocate? Are you more of a accomplice, co-conspirator type person? let me know. Let me know why. Because I'd like to know. I'd like to have some opinions on that information as well. Because we had a very lively discussion at the conference. And I'd like some other opinions. Okay, I'm done. I promise I'm done. Okay, this is over. Go home. Or if you are home, take your headphones off.
Yeah, exactly.
Anywho, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Shannon.
And this has been our life in transition.
So, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you again for listening to Our Life in Transition.
This show is hosted by Rachel and Shannon McDill.
Our producer and editor is Shannon McDill.
Theme music is Seize the Day by Jens Kiilstofte. Check him out at jens.kiilstofte.net.
Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/olitpod. That's /OLITPOD.
Your support makes this show possible. Thank you.